Think about a massive downtown office building at like 2 in the morning.
All right, totally pitch black.
Exactly. The windows are dark, the main doors are locked, the parking lot is completely empty. From the outside looking in, you just assume the entire structure is, well, just off.
Like it's totally shut down for the night.
Yeah, and we have essentially been conditioned to think about the 1/3 of our lives we spend asleep in that exact same way. We just treat it as passive downtime.
Which is such a massive misconception.
It really is.
Yeah.
Because if you were to actually unlock the doors and walk inside that dark office building, you'd realize it is buzzing with highly coordinated activity. I mean, the nighttime maintenance crews are tearing apart and fixing the HVACs.
The IT team is running those massive server backups.
Exactly. Security is doing a floor-by-floor sweep. And if that night shift fails to do its highly specialized job, that building is going to be in absolute chaos by 9 in the morning.
The daytime workers would walk into a total disaster. I mean, the emails wouldn't send, the air conditioning would fail, the trash from yesterday would still be sitting on every single desk.
It'd be a nightmare.
It would. And that illusion of a, passive, dormant building perfectly mirrors the most dangerous misconception we hold about human biology.
Which brings us to today. Welcome to today's deep dive. We are exploring a topic that fundamentally dictates the reality of every single person listening to this right now.
Yeah, it really touches everything.
It does. Our mission today is to completely shatter the illusion that sleep is just some biological off switch. And to do this, we're pulling from a clinical manifesto written by Dr. Karina Ianculovici.
She's an incredible longevity and functional medicine expert.
Right, and her work here is backed by a dense stack of foundational sleep science. We're talking massive data sets from 1964 all the way up to cutting-edge clinical trials from 2024. So, okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
We have historically treated sleep like a luxury, like a lifestyle detail that we can just negotiate with when we're busy.
Well, absolutely. Like, I'll just sleep when I'm dead, right?
Exactly. But the science shows us it is actually a highly organized, active state that dictates your metabolism, your hormones, your brain's physical structure, and ultimately your longevity.
And Dr. Ianculovici frames this perfectly. She calls it biological investment time.
Oh, I like that phrase.
Right. You aren't losing time when you close your eyes.
Yeah.
You are actively investing in the physiological infrastructure that you require to just survive the next 24 hours.
It's prep work.
Exactly. And to really grasp the magnitude of that investment, we have to look closely at the mechanical reality of what the brain is actually doing when the lights go out.
Because it is definitely not one uniform state of unconsciousness. Going back to our office building, it's not just a single janitor pushing a broom for 8 hours.
Oh, no, not at all.
You have distinct crews arriving at very specific times of the night to execute completely different jobs.
And what's fascinating here is the deliberate architecture of the night. Human sleep cycles through non-rapid eye movement sleep, so non-REM, and rapid eye movement sleep, or REM.
Right.
And the timing of this is highly strategic. The first half of your night is heavily front-loaded with what we call slow wave sleep. So this is your deep sleep.
And then the second half of the night is dominated by REM.
Exactly.
So deep sleep is the phase with the highest arousal threshold. It's when you are the hardest to wake up. Your brain waves slow down to these long, synchronized rhythms. Your blood pressure drops. Your breathing stabilizes.
It's like the brain is essentially putting up a massive do not disturb sign.
Yeah, ignoring the outside world so it can prioritize massive internal renovations.
And the scale of that renovation is explained by a really cool concept called the synaptic homeostasis hypothesis.
Okay, break that down for us.
So think about your waking hours. As you go through your day, learning a new skill, reacting to stress, reading emails, having conversations.
Building life.
Right. Your brain is constantly building and strengthening synaptic connections. Neurons are just wiring together to capture all of that new information.
So it's just a constant influx of data, wiring, and firing all day long.
Exactly. Which presents a serious mechanical problem.
How so?
Well, if those neural connections just kept strengthening indefinitely, your brain would become energetically overloaded.
Oh, like an electrical grid running at maximum capacity until it literally melts the wires.
That is a perfect analogy, yes.
Yeah.
The brain only has so much physical space and so much metabolic energy to use.
So it has to physically scale back the network?
Right. So the slow-wave deep sleep crew comes in to essentially prune the noise. It re-normalizes synaptic strength.
So it's keeping the good stuff and tossing the junk.
Basically, yeah. The brain preserves the important neural pathways you built that day, but it literally shrinks away the excess, the trivial background noise.
Wow.
By downsizing those physical connections, it restores the brain's capacity to actually absorb new information the next day.
So it is literal physical maintenance of our neural pathways.
Yes, and this phase is deeply tied to systemic bodily repair as well. During this initial deep sleep phase, your body releases its most reproducible, massive pulse of growth hormone.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so while the brain is pruning synapses, the endocrine system is signaling your cells to repair tissue and recover from physical stress.
That's amazing. And then as the night progresses, the crew changes. The deep sleep, slow wave crew clocks out, and the REM crew clocks in for the night shift of integration.
Right, and REM is a completely distinct beast. Your brain activity suddenly spikes and looks very, very similar to when you are wide awake.
Yeah, your eyes are darting around, you experience these vivid dreams,
But your body ingeniously induces a state of temporary muscle paralysis.
which is terrifying to think about, but necessary.
Very necessary, so you don't physically jump out of bed and act out those dreams.
Right.
And the sleeping brain during REM is not just hitting a passive replay button on your day, it is actively reorganizing associations.
So it's taking the memories and experiences that we decided to keep during that deep sleep pruning phase, and it integrates them into our broader historical network of meaning.
Exactly. That is the physical mechanism of why you can go to sleep incredibly frustrated by some complex emotional problem and then wake up the next morning feeling oddly at peace with it.
We're suddenly seeing a completely new perspective.
Right. The brain has literally cross-referenced the problem with your past experiences while you were paralyzed in bed.
That is wild. But here's where it gets really interesting. And honestly, I want to push back on the way this next concept is often talked about.
Okay, let's hear it.
Because we constantly see headlines claiming that sleep literally washes the brain, right? They're referencing the glymphatic system. Health blogs talk about it like it's a nightly dishwasher for Alzheimer's disease.
Yes, I see those everywhere.
Right. And it makes people incredibly paranoid that if they miss like 1 hour of sleep, their brain is going to be ruined. Is decluttering the brain just too simple of a summary? It feels heavily sensationalized.
You are absolutely right to call out the media hype on this. The phrase washing the brain is incredibly sticky for a headline, but we really need to look at the actual mechanics without all the panic.
Okay, so what is actually happening?
Well, the excitement in the scientific community stems from these landmark observations of cerebrospinal fluid. Researchers discovered that during natural sleep, the movement of this fluid through the brain tissue dramatically increases.
So the fluid is physically flushing out the metabolic ash left over from the day.
Yes. Every time a neuron fires during the day, it creates metabolic waste. And one of these waste products is a protein called beta amyloid.
Which is famously linked to Alzheimer's pathology.
Exactly. So the sleep state actually creates physical space between the brain cells, allowing the cerebrospinal fluid to rush through and carry that beta amyloid away into the circulatory system to be cleared out.
Wow, okay.
We even have data showing that after just one single night of sleep deprivation, human subjects show an accumulation of beta amyloid in certain brain regions the very next day.
See, but that sounds terrifying. That one-night statistic is exactly what drives the sensationalism.
I know. And that is why context is critical in longevity medicine. Seeing protein accumulation after one bad night does not mean you have caused irreversible dementia.
Right, the body can handle a bad night.
The human body is remarkably resilient. However, chronic year-over-year sleep disruption does measurably degrade the system.
It adds up.
It does. When that waste clearance system is consistently shortchanged, we see a rapid deterioration in executive function, attention, and emotional regulation.
So we have to respect the nuance here. Sleep is a vital maintenance system, but missing a cycle doesn't instantly break the machine.
That distinction is so important.
And running this incredible nightly operation, I mean, the synaptic pruning, the memory integration, the physical fluid clearance, it requires a massive coordination of energy.
Oh, absolutely. The brain is utilizing a huge amount of fuel to do this work.
Which smoothly transitions us into the next major insight from Dr. Ian Kolovic's manifesto. Sleep is a master switch for the body's entire metabolic system.
Yes, it really is.
Let me ask you, the listener, a direct question. Have you ever felt like you are doing everything right? Like you're eating a perfectly balanced diet, you're exercising, getting your steps in, but you are still stubbornly gaining weight, or you just feel utterly drained of energy by 2 p.m.?
I think a lot of people feel that way.
Right. And based on this clinical research, your sleep architecture might be the exact variable sabotaging your effort.
Yeah, if we connect this to the bigger picture, a foundational lesson in functional medicine is that metabolism is not simply a calculator of the food you eat.
Right. Calories in, calories out is too simple.
Way too simple. Sleep dictates the hormonal conditions under which your body decides what to actually do with that food.
Oh, that makes sense.
Consider a really striking study where healthy young men were limited to just 5 hours of sleep a night for a single week.
5 hours? Honestly, a lot of people listening probably average 5 hours and just assume they've adapted to it.
Exactly. But after just 1 week of that, their insulin sensitivity was reduced by 20%.
Wait, a 20% drop in a healthy person?
Yep. It's an enormous physiological shift.
We should probably explain how that actually works at the cellular level, because insulin is essentially a messenger, right? When you eat, your blood fills with glucose, and insulin knocks on the doors of your cells, telling them to open up and absorb that energy.
Right. And when you restrict sleep, your cells undergo a physical change. They basically start to ignore the knock.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they become resistant to the insulin signal. Because the cells aren't absorbing the glucose, the sugar stays trapped in your bloodstream.
And then what happens?
Well, your pancreas panics and pumps out even more insulin to try and force the doors open.
Wow, so by simply restricting sleep, you are pushing a healthy individual toward the physiological markers of prediabetes?
Exactly. Your body is desperately trying to manage energy, but the communication lines are just broken.
And this breakdown completely alters your appetite signals, too. The sources highlight that short sleep literally changes the hormones that dictate hunger.
The double whammy.
Yeah. It lowers leptin, which is the hormone that signals to your brain that you are full and satisfied. And at the exact same time, it raises ghrelin.
The hunger hormone.
Right, the one that triggers intense hunger.
Because the brain registers the lack of sleep as a state of severe energy depletion. And it basically reacts as if you are starving.
It thinks you're in a famine.
Yeah, so it biochemically screams at you to consume dense, high-calorie foods to make up for the deficit. Your body becomes worse at handling the energy you give it while simultaneously forcing you to crave more of it.
That is brutal. A sleep-deprived body is biologically vulnerable to overeating.
It really is. Dr. Ian Kulavici makes it very clear that weight management isn't just a simple equation of willpower. If your sleep is disrupted, your biology is actively working against you.
I want to view this through the lens of stress, too, because we constantly hear the term adrenal fatigue. You know, people describe feeling completely exhausted, their sleep is terrible, and they assume their adrenal glands are just burned out from chronic stress.
Right, I hear that term a lot. But medically speaking, adrenal fatigue is not a recognized diagnosis in endocrinology.
Really?
Yeah, the adrenal glands don't just, run out of hormones. However, the crushing symptoms those individuals are experiencing are incredibly real.
So what's actually happening?
The true mechanism lies in the HPA axis, the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, which is your body's stress response system. Losing sleep actively elevates your evening cortisol levels.
Oh, so your stress hormone is high right when you're supposed to be relaxing.
Exactly. It alters your autonomic nervous system, keeping your sympathetic fight-or-flight response activated when it should be shifting into a resting state.
That is the literal definition of being wired and tired. Your brain is exhausted, but your nervous system is flooded with stress signals.
Perfectly said.
And this bidirectional relationship with hormones is fascinating, especially during major life transitions. The sources specifically discuss menopause, right?
Yes, that's a huge one. Vasomotor symptoms like hot flashes severely fragment a woman's sleep architecture.
And then that fragmented sleep heavily amplifies the fatigue, the brain fog, and the mood changes associated with the hormonal shift.
It creates this awful self-perpetuating loop. And we see profound impacts on male hormones as well. Restricting healthy young men to 5 hours of sleep for a week has been shown to reduce daytime testosterone levels by 10 to 15%.
Wow, that's significant.
It is, but the clinical reality is actually a bit more complicated. Later studies show more mixed results, which serves as a good warning against reducing complex hormone health to a single lab value.
Right, you can't just look at one number in a vacuum.
Exactly. For instance, untreated sleep apnea causes a patient to stop breathing dozens of times an hour, which severely fragments sleep and causes profound daytime fatigue.
And that fatigue mimics the symptoms of low testosterone.
Precisely. You cannot simply prescribe a hormone replacement without evaluating the underlying sleep architecture that is driving the dysfunction in the first place.
Makes total sense, because when your cells are ignoring insulin and your nervous system is flooded with evening cortisol, something has to give. The body simply cannot maintain its defensive perimeter.
No, it can't.
When sleep breaks down, we become incredibly vulnerable to external threats. Sleep is quite literally the foundation of our immune response.
It is our primary overnight defense strategy. Consider the classic viral exposure studies. Researchers literally exposed participants to a rhinovirus, the common cold, just to observe the infection rate.
So they just gave people a cold virus.
Yeah. And the subjects who were sleeping less than 7 hours a night were nearly 3 times more likely to develop a cold compared to those getting 8 hours or more.
3 times more likely just from missing an hour or two of sleep. That is crazy.
It really raises an important question about our approach to preventative medicine. I mean, we rely on hand sanitizer, we take vitamin C, but we routinely sacrifice the exact mechanism our immune system requires to adapt.
The sleep itself.
Exactly. Take vaccine efficacy as an example. Clinical data reveals that short sleep duration prior to receiving a hepatitis B vaccine actively lowers the body's antibody response.
Because a vaccine is essentially a wanted poster for the immune system, right? It shows the body what the enemy looks like.
Right.
But if you aren't sleeping, the immune system never gets the focused downtime it needs to actually study the poster and manufacture the specific antibodies to fight it.
The immune system fails to learn the lesson. And this concept of a compromised defense extends deep into our psychological resilience, too.
Mental health.
Yes. When we examine longitudinal data on mental health, insomnia emerges not just as a symptom of feeling depressed. It is a highly significant predictor of future depression and anxiety.
So the disruption in the sleep architecture often arrives first.
It does. It is a profoundly bidirectional relationship. High anxiety impairs your ability to transition into deep sleep, but then the resulting chronic insomnia degrades your cognitive control, worsens your emotional regulation, and makes your nervous system hypersensitive to minor stressors.
Which just makes you more anxious.
Exactly. Persistent sleep disturbances are strongly associated with later suicidal thoughts and behaviors. Optimizing sleep isn't about chasing higher productivity. It is vital, life-saving, supportive care for mental health.
So what does this all mean? If sleep dictates the physical pruning of our brain, if it governs our metabolic receptors, if it balances our stress hormones and powers our immune memory, how does all of this dictate the actual length of our lives?
That's the million-dollar question.
Right. We often hear sleep compared to a financial budget or a bank account. People think they can accrue a massive sleep debt during the work week and magically pay it all off by sleeping until noon on the weekend.
Oh, the clinical data completely destroys that budget analogy. Yes. If we trace the longevity connection from early demographic studies in the 1960s to the most cutting-edge wearable data today, we uncover a massive paradigm shift.
Okay, what is it?
Recent prospective cohort studies utilizing objective wearable trackers have revealed something profound. Sleep regularity is actually a stronger predictor of mortality risk than total sleep duration.
Wait, really? Going to bed and waking up at a consistent time is mathematically more protective for your lifespan than just randomly trying to log 8 hours?
The biological mechanism demands it. Human physiology does not operate on a ledger. It operates on a clock.
Oh, the circadian rhythm.
Right. Our bodies are deeply synchronized to cycles of light and dark. Digestion, immune activity, hormone release, they all run on a strict circadian schedule.
Right.
Instead of a bank account, think of the body like a massive city traffic grid. If you sleep 5 hours one night, 10 hours the next, and constantly shift your wake times, you are essentially changing the traffic light patterns every single day.
Oh, that sounds like a mess.
It is. The supply trucks carrying hormones and cellular repair materials arrive at the factory, but the doors are locked. The entire metabolic grid backs up.
So the body experiences sleep not as a cumulative total of hours, but as a biological rhythm.
Exactly.
So clinically speaking, what does structured sleep actually look like? Are we supposed to live like robots, never varying our schedule by a single minute?
Not at all. Dr. Ianka Levici emphasizes that structured sleep is about establishing biological conditions, not chasing perfection.
Okay, that's a relief.
Yeah, it simply means creating enough consistency that your internal clocks can synchronize. It means aiming for relatively consistent wake times, protecting your sleep environment from light and temperature extremes, and addressing the chemical factors that fragment sleep.
Like late-night alcohol or untreated acid reflux.
Exactly. And it also means recognizing when a simple lifestyle tweak isn't going to cut it.
Right, like when you actually need medical help.
Persistent issues demand real clinical evaluation. If someone is suffering from chronic insomnia where their nervous system is in a state of hyperarousal, cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia is the gold standard treatment, not just a warmer blanket.
Yeah, you need to actually address the root cause.
Exactly. And if a patient snores loudly or wakes up gasping for air, they need a medical evaluation for sleep apnea. Their airway is collapsing, their brain is panicking for oxygen, and no amount of generic sleep hygiene advice is going to fix a structural breathing problem.
Absolutely. Well, we have covered incredible ground today. We started by looking at a dark, quiet office building, only to discover the massive renovation happening inside.
A lot of hard work happening in the dark.
Yeah, we explored how deep sleep physically prunes our neural connections to save energy, and how REM sleep integrates our emotional memories. We looked at the mechanical flushing of metabolic ash from the brain, the subtle shifting of our insulin receptors, and the brain's desperate hunger response to exhaustion.
It's all connected.
We've seen how sleep acts as the training ground for our immune system, and how the steady, predictable rhythm of our bedtime might be the strongest metric for a long life. Sleep is absolutely not how we simply end the day. It is the active process of building the biology we need for tomorrow.
I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over.
Go for it.
If we fully accept that sleep is this highly active, essential phase of biological investment, how might that change the way we view our alarm clocks? We constantly view sleep as an annoying tax we are forced to pay just so we can stay awake.
Right, an inconvenience.
What if we completely flipped that paradigm? What if we started viewing our waking hours simply as the gathering phase, the period where we venture out into the world to collect the raw materials, the physical nutrients, the stressful experiences, the new information that our sleeping brain will eventually use to construct the future version of ourselves?
Wow. That completely reorganizes how we value our time. We aren't shutting down the factory when we close our eyes. We are finally locking the door so the real work can begin. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Take care of yourselves, and we'll see you next time.